This is Route Talk.
So this is my first podcast by myself, no guests, and this one I'm going to talk about The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. He was a French author from way back, and this book was serialized at the time, and I'm reading the Penguin Classics version, which is about 1,200 pages. So the story follows a man named Edmond Dantes, and or Dante, whatever is the correct pronunciation. And he returns from a voyage in, I think it's the 1810s. He meets the girl he's about to marry, Mercedes. Again, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is. And they're about to get married, but then these 3 or 4 people get in his way, and he gets imprisoned. So the story is about him, going to prison, being held there for a very long time, and then his escape. After he escapes, he takes his revenge on all the people who were, in the way that got him to the prison in the first place. So, there will be spoilers in this one. And I really like the story because it's a tale of revenge. I love revenge stories. Usually I'm reading thrillers like the Jack Reacher series or the first Jack Carr book, The Terminalist. That was pretty awesome, about revenge too. And yeah, revenge is great in fiction because, in my life there's not really too many opportunities to carry it out. Not that I'm looking for them. So yeah, it's a revenge story, and it's pretty drawn out, and the revenge is epic. So now to kind of get into the story a bit. Again, a lot of spoilers. So the main character is Edmond Dantes, and the people who are responsible for getting him thrown into prison are there's his dad's neighbor or landlord, Caderousse, his I guess girlfriend's lover. I mean, he's the lover, but someone who likes his girlfriend, Fernand. And then a guy on his ship. I think he was second mate or aspired to be second mate. His name is Danglars. So they kind of ruin his wedding day, write a note and send it to the criminal prosecutor in Marseille, I believe. And his name is de Villefort. So he has a dad who is a Bonapartist. So in the time of Napoleon, I believe he supported him. So anyway, this guy doesn't. So this letter that he receives, claiming that Dante also supports Napoleon, puts his dad in an incriminating light, which would affect him as well. So he gets this letter burnt, and then Edmond is in prison. He's basically a scapegoat. So anyway, he gets sent to prison, and he can't figure out why, but he meets this wise old abbé in the prison. So they talk, and he teaches him kind of how to do stuff, and then he helps him figure out that all these people colluded in getting him thrown into prison. So he vows to get out, and he does get out eventually, and he finds this treasure, which the abbé said was there, but no one believed him. He gets this treasure, and that's like the first few hundred pages of the book. So that part I really liked. It was really exciting because you see a man who has everything going for him. Everything is taken away. He gets thrown into prison. He can't figure out why. He figures out why. Then he vows his revenge. So that whole story I saw in the movie from 2002, I believe, and it was awesome. So 20 years later, I finished reading the book. So that was the best part of the book, I guess, in the beginning. So after that, there's a whole dull part where they introduce, where the author's introducing all these characters. Like, basically after Edmund gets out of prison, it's been over 10 years. His girlfriend married the guy who loved her, Fernand. They're in France, Paris, I think, and they've changed their names to Morcerf. That's the last name. They have a kid named Albert. And Danglars is married. He's a banker. He's wealthy. He has a kid too, and he's married. So his kid's name is Eugenie. And Villefort, he is married, has a child from his first marriage called Valentine. And he has a second marriage. His first wife is dead. His second wife has a son called Edouard. Anyway, so with all these relations, after Edmund escapes the prison, he becomes a count of this island called Monte Cristo. And he meets this guy named Franz there, who's friends with Albert. Then Franz and Albert meet the Count in Rome, and then, this develops the Count into this fantastical character who, he's just mysterious. Everybody thinks he's awesome, and he has a way of getting things done. I don't know how to describe it, but he's a cool guy. So anyway, they build this relation. So this is kind of the slow part of the book. And Albert gets kidnapped by bandits, and the Count is responsible for getting him out. So that whole saga is kind of the boring part, in my opinion. So after that's all done, they go back to France. And the Count goes back to France too. And so from that point until the end of the story, it's probably the most exciting part, because everything is building towards ruining the people involved in ruining Edmund. So Danglars, his family, Caderousse, Villefort, and Fernand. And there's some pretty crazy stuff. Like, people die. There's suicide, bankruptcy, all sorts of things. It's pretty wild. Like, ruining someone slowly over time. It's like the opposite thing of what happened to Edmund. And he's so committed to revenge. He's savoring every minute of it. But there is a point where he feels remorse and questions what he's doing. There's some regret. And there's a little bit of a turnaround, but it's not really a happy ending at the end of the story. There are some unanswered questions, and he gets his revenge, but as a reader you're thinking, is it really justified? Because there's unexpected events that happen too. So I mean, overall I think it was a great story. It took me about 5 months to read it. It's a translation, so it was originally French, so I read it the English version. The writing is kind of like old school, but not like Shakespearean old school. The translation's pretty good. It's the Penguin Classics version. I do want to read it again, but probably not for a long time, because it's really long. This is Row Talk.